Hey y'all, Duel here. It's Abdul Jabbar. This is likely going to be a lot more of a different thing. I'm not sure if it's going to be public or private or what, but I'll try to, be a little more relaxed this time. You see the title. We're playing TABG, and I'm probably going to talk about a lot of things. I'd say almost certainly I forgot to change my skin. It's still this. It's the Mong Shong skin. Um, we're likely going to go over everything from, definitely depression. I assume we're going to go over, thoughts of suicide and anxiety, ADHD, likely, some amounts of abuse. And that's to say, if you're not wanting to really listen to that, I would say I understand if you for some reason want to watch this and mute the video. That's fine. If you don't want to watch it at all, it's fine. I understand. Not everyone's in a mental state to really, dish it all out, nor get it all dished out on them. But this is that. This is dishing it all out. Of course, we're playing TABG, so expect some broken thoughts and whatever. But I think we'll get started. Today I was supposed to be. Why is my audio so quiet? I want to turn it up, but I'll turn it up. Let's fuck with it. I did just do a recording so that I didn't have to fuck with this, but we'll turn it up. That's likely very loud. That is very loud. We'll turn you down to negative 12 decibels, and you should be fine. You're not. You're not fine. I don't give a shit. I mean, no, I do give a shit. We'll have it be there. I don't know if that does much. Hopefully it does. If it's too loud, I apologize. Today we were supposed to be heading to Texas. I was gonna go see my father, and well, plans fell through. Initially, I was telling my parents kind of an incorrect story of what happened. It isn't that it was his fault. It's more so that I had set up plans and not fully understood that he didn't understand I was setting up plans. He wasn't actually Dildo Mar. He wasn't understanding that I was setting up plans to go there. And so today I am not going there. I'm not sure if I'll be going there for all of January, especially because I'm going to go watch Iron Lung on the 30th, so I'm not going to miss that. Um, but there's a bit. There's a bit. I did a lot of things kind of preparing for that to sort of pan out, but it did not. And that's all right. I've been going on, walks recently, but I remember my sister. She was so worried, and she's saying, "You were wearing all black at the dead of night, and you walked past someone. Do you understand how scary that must feel? Weren't you scared of them?" And they were wondering. Well, she was wondering if was there anything I was doing that could possibly make him feel uncomfortable? And I don't tell the full truth and nothing but the truth. I don't. And so I was saying, oh no, it was fine. But if I was to tell you, whenever I go on walks, if I was to tell you I sing when I go on walks, you would get an improper idea of what that really means. When I go on walks, I am, whenever I'm inside a house in a somewhat public environment, also known as not public at all, I can put up a veil of, who I am. I can do a lot of things. When I step out that door, I am, for all intents and purposes, I am a sick man. I am a man who is very mentally unwell, and that is something I wear. My mental health is something I essentially wear on my sleeves. But when I step out that door, it's not like I'm just another guy. I stumble. I stumble around. I do not walk in a straight line. I am, for all intents and purposes, I am a walking corpse when I walk outside. I do not walk in a straight line. I have my head tilted to the side, and I walk genuinely like a corpse. And, you know, when I say I'm singing, you know, I'm definitely singing, but it's not like a soothing sing. It's, you know, it's me airing out grievances that... Oh, what's this guy? I never reloaded. I think I gave me a good fight yesterday. Where were we? But yeah, no, you know, it's not that I'm like... If someone was to pass me by, it's clear that you know, I'm not like a hostile man, but I'm clearly going through some shit. And, you know, I've been more and more lately, I've been very, very stressed, and, you know, I don't let I never lash out at people, and I never will ever let my anger flare out at anyone but myself. And I'll get more into that later, what exactly I mean by that. It's nothing pretty, I assure you. But I don't lash out at others, but whenever there's no one around me, listen, I understand that there's a lot of taboos in society that you don't really fuck with. And one of them is so publicly wearing something on your sleeve. Not even wearing it on your sleeve. You know, when I step out that door, I go through some shit. I go through some shit. And when I get so angry and there's no easy way to vent that, it immediately either because I can't scream, it's nothing pretty. We'll get into it later, but you know, self-harm moment. Things are not great. But, you know, I've been very stressed lately. I think school has been ramping up. It hasn't. I've been still ignoring it, as you can tell right now. But just because I've been ignoring it doesn't mean that I'm, you know, any less stressed. It's even more on my mind that another day goes by that I haven't done anything. No? Ow. You know, another day goes by that I haven't actually worked on what I need to work on, and that's... It's very stressful. He isn't in the game. Because I need to be working on things, but it's hard to put my mind to it. It's very hard to try to focus on things, a lot of the time. Moneymaker Max, very funny. And so, you know, I've only been getting more stressed as time goes on, and it's been bad. You know, for a while I had gone, I think a few months without even thinking about hurting myself, but lately it's been bad. Not as bad as it used to be, of course, but, you know, I'll put it this way, it's definitely it's worse than median depression. It's been bad. And so whenever I go out on walks like that, I wear that on my sleeves, and more than wear it, I create that. It's nothing pretty. And, you know, I remember my sister, she'd always ask, like, hey, your nails, they're so long. What do you do to do that? It's like, hey, man, the topic of why I grow out my nails, I like having long nails. I really do. They're very comfortable. They're nice to have. They're very nice to have. But that's not why I started growing them out. I started growing them out years ago, because that's when I started self-harming. It was, you know, I'm too scared to use a knife, so I use my own nails. I carve shit, and it's fucking scary. You know, it's nothing pretty. And so that's why I have such long nails all the time. You know, part of it is that it's for that. The other part is it allows me to feel safe in my own skin. Sometimes I get so stressed and I get so angry, and there's... I remember back then I used to not feel like I could trust myself. I used to not feel safe in my own skin. And having nails there that would allow me to calm myself down very rapidly, it did a lot. It allowed me to feel like I could, you know, feel safe. I almost just dynamited myself. Did his teammate quit? You're down. You should not be shooting me. Oh, God. Can't focus. You know, I'm out of ammo. I don't have good grenades. What did you have, Abdul? A bit of shit. Not much. Oh, well, you had an ungodly amount of ammo. Ugh. That's with the compensator, by the way. We just can't handle it. Are you the one with the sniper? What? I'm actually surprised they didn't dynamite their own launch pad. That likely would have killed me if they did. Well, I don't know where they went. But yeah, no, things have been bad. I've been very, very stressed, and typically I don't let it get to me much, but as it piles up more and more, you know, I don't have very good coping mechanisms. I really don't. I have, you know, I do go on long walks, but when I go on long walks, it's not great whenever I'm too stressed, because, well, I'll leave it at that for now. It's not great when I'm too stressed. You pushing me? They keep doing that. We could have played better. We could have played better. You done firing? You done firing? Okay. Yeah, no. I could have done better. I feel like I fucked up when I landed on them. At least, like, landed on them so close. I wasn't intending to be inside of them. No? We don't feel like connecting? We don't? Okay. My skin isn't right. But yeah, no. You know, I can obsessively clean, but... You know, that's... only as helpful as how alone I can be in the moment. You know, if everyone's around me, I really can't unbottle anything. But if there is no one around me, I take out my anger. I take out my anger on cleaning dishes. And when I take out my anger, I get insanely frustrated. I get insanely angry. And I'll have dealt with it by the time I'm done cleaning dishes. But if anyone comes up on me during that time, I either have to very quickly bottle that right back up or just be an asshole. And it's not really ideal. It's something that requires me to be awake late at night, and only if there's no one around me that I'm scared about waking up, and that's not always the case. And so I can obsessively clean my room, but, that's not really, like, it's healthy, but it's not really healthy, but it's healthier. But that isn't always the thing. It's really not. I figured out recently that I'm a very impulsive guy. I was wondering, like, why am I struggling so much to study? Because, the ADHD medication didn't do anything. Therapy never helped me for shit. And I realized that it's a thing of impulses, that I only really study when I have, well, first of all, I either motivation to study, a dedication to studying, or there's nothing else, genuinely nothing else I can do. And there's always something I can do. You can see it. It's right here in front of me. But, I remember struggling with the fact that if I ever got hungry, I don't want to study, I'm hungry. If I ever got thirsty, I don't want to study, I'm thirsty. If I ever, put off showering, my face when I can barely get out of bed, I'm sure as hell not studying whenever I feel disgusting. And so I just don't. It's easy to let shit pile up, and in school, that was way easier. We could do a project. Look at that, by the way. We are, we've devolved back into referring to ourselves as we again. I don't know when exactly that came about, but I think even my headcanon of, it's back whenever, we were struggling with the whole multiple personality thing. I don't think that's correct. It wasn't even multiple personalities, but it was very strong emotions that were very much so not in line with each other all the time. Foul. Gyoza be praised. But, I lost track of what I was saying. I don't know. It's easy to... the issue isn't that it's like what I'm studying is hard. It's not. None of it's hard. That's why it's so, like, demotivating. Like, I should be able to have done this, like, months ago. But I haven't. And... Are you inside of me? I hear someone, don't I? Oh, whatever. I don't give a shit. But it's so demotivating, demotivating, to, know that I could do something so easily. Even if it's not something that, like, it's easy to tear myself apart at the seams and tear up everything because I should have done this. It really shouldn't have been that hard. I had a class recently, and this is WGU, so you go at your own pace and you complete one class and you complete the next. This class took me a month to finish. How much studying did it take? About an hour and a half. It was... The pressure had built up enough that I finally put my nose to the wheel, and I figured out I could have done this shit in an afternoon. And I did it in an afternoon. Two. I managed to still drag it out, but... that was because I was tired and I didn't want to fail the test, and... better to waste a day than waste a week. No? Hey, buddy, I'm sorry to do that to you. I actually am. I assume your headphones were not on. Wow, you really just cannot move whenever you get hit by that. Even with the sawed-off. That's crazy. Good to know. But yeah, no, it was so easy to do, but I managed to make it take so long, and, I have to hear that, wow, good job, you finished a class. Brother, I should have done that shit, like, months ago. That shit was easy. And You know, currently I'm working through Network Plus. I've been working through Network Plus, but working implies that I've been working on it. No, it's just hard to put my face at the fucking thing, and the issue with this one is that, you know, it's such an intensive course. This isn't one afternoon of studying. This isn't 3 afternoons. This is weeks. Weeks of constant studying I have to do, and it's fucking difficult. You know, it's not that it's, like, very tough subject matter. It's not. I just write it down. It's just that it's so much. And I find it very hard to find motivation to do anything. That's always been the case. And so to ask myself to somehow find motivation to do one thing for weeks when I can barely see the end, it's a tough fucking ask. It's a very tough ask. And, you know, we used to be a lot more, we're gonna run this today. Well, we're actually not going to run it, but I want to try it. Do I have any passive healing? Not really. That guy over there has an H1. I don't know where he is. He's so loud. They're all so loud. Holy fuck. Can my gun not be inside of me? Legendary recycling, always good. If I could find it, of course. I'm not sure. I think it's almost certainly better than common vampire, but I do value the heal block a lot. Oh, hi, brother. You're inside of me, aren't you? No? I swear to God, I heard you. We not feel like showing up today? Okay. I do have, I guess, 2 launch pads. The 14 alive might as well. I almost just hit a tree. My face went slope. But yeah, it's been very hard to focus and very hard to motivate myself. You know, I feel, I mean, shocker, an anxious man struggles with self-doubt, but, you know, I always feel so disappointed in myself. I feel like I could have done so much more at this point. I feel like I could do so much more with what I have, but, you know, for instance, I feel like an absolute fucking failure day in and day out, and part of that is that I'm not employed right now. I enjoyed being employed, but I, you know, from Lowe's I had to quit because they didn't give me any hours. From Sam's I had to quit because it made me want to actually end my fucking life. Fuck that guy. There was a coworker I had, horrible fucking human being. Fuck that guy. I just can't hit shots. What do you have? Ah. Very good. Why did that guy... I assume he didn't have any kills. Many kills. But, you know, I feel like I should be employed right now, and to an extent, I've been trying. I really have, but, you know, I don't really want to work manual labor again. Well, no, I do. I would like to work in a garden section again. That was fun. It felt nice doing that, but, you know, I worked garden section at Lowe's, and that was a nice time. I worked fulfillment at Lowe's. It made me want to halfway kill myself, and I worked regular retail at Sam's, and it made me fully want to kill myself. Shit was bad. And when I say it made me want to kill myself, I do not mean to imply that, you know, I've never been a suicidal person. I really haven't, but it never have the thoughts, never have the voices flared up that fucking much, and they really did flare up back then. Okay. Okay. Now, didn't someone behind me rock me? And I guess voices isn't the right term to use, but it it's hard to describe it. I feel a lot of people who are not initiated understand, or they don't fully understand what it means to have suicidal thoughts. To have suicidal thoughts is different than to have suicidal tendencies or to be a suicidal person. To be suicidal is to imply that I am actively planning it. To have suicidal tendencies, that is to say, I out of nowhere, I just decide, you know what? What if I just do here for 1 second, just really turn my steering wheel 180 degrees to the left? What happens? The suicidal thoughts, it's just something that comes into your mind. It really is. For some people, that can be it can be a negative thing. For me, it's become it feels regular. Not regular. It's definitely uncomfortable, but it's something that is accepted, and it's something that is heard and listened to. And it's just the quick thought of, I want to die right now. I wish I did not have to go through this. And that's not to say I would ever do that. I've watched videos, and I understand for other people it isn't as bad as as in they didn't feel as much as I did in that moment, but I've watched, it was a Facebook Live video, a guy with a shotgun, and just the immediate after effects, I could not stomach doing that to my family. That would be fucking terrifying. I could not stomach doing that to anyone around me. Even someone I didn't know, I could not do that. It was horrible. Genuinely something fucking horrible. And I say that because, as that depression gets worse and worse, those thoughts become more and more common, and the acceptance of them going from, these are deeply uncomfortable to these make me feel like at some point justice will be done in my own death. It has gotten bad. And it's not quite to that, really bad side of that scale for me yet, but I missed. Do you feel like coming out? Wow, holy whiffing. I am so sorry. You deserved better aim. Okay. Pro V5. But yeah, no, it was stressful. It was very stressful working there, but I want to, I'd like to work again. It's just, to an extent, I feel lazy because I'm not working, but to an extent, I also feel I've tried. I have tried, but maybe I haven't tried enough. Maybe I didn't do well enough. Maybe maybe something's wrong, and I used to have this big problem with feeling. You gonna say a slur? Are you gonna say a slur? If you're wondering, this is the guy at the start who was shooting me for a second after going down. Anyway. I don't know how to think about it, because I mean, obviously it's not black and white, but portions of my mind think about this different ways, and it's very, very demotivating, and it's very sad to feel. And so I feel that I should be doing more, but I used to look in the mirror, and I swear to God, I saw a disgusting, ugly, writhing fucking mess of a human being, and nowadays, I don't hate the reflection that much, but there are days when I look in the mirror and I see the same guy. I see a truly disgusting person who I fucking hate. And, it's not a fun feeling to feel, but it is what has been the case. I've been happy. I've been happier. Not recently, but I have felt happier, at least with the fact that, I deleted my Snapchat. I deleted all my social media. I don't have any dating apps anymore. I don't have to feel so disgusted. But, it's a funny thought that, I feel I've had sex with 7-ish people. Might be more, might be less, and every one of them, it's like, I feel horrible about it. I feel disgusting. I feel I wasn't used, and yet I feel used. I mean, it's not that I feel used, I feel used up. I feel like a writhing, disgusting fucking mess of a human being sometimes. And I think about that, and it's like, well, we had one, and she was nice. Another, but that relationship was nothing but... Well, no, the first relationship was fucking horrible. The second relationship was like dating a brick on the fucking floor. No personality, nothing to that relationship besides sex. And I'll tell you what, I was great, but that's not enough. I would like to date a human being. It's disrespectful to say it that way. It's just... I never really had any interests with her. And I never really... we weren't interested in the same things, and I just found myself so deeply uncomfortable around the thought of narcotics and everything like that. Thank God he didn't turn around and Mossberg me, because there was a high chance that would happen. I just felt so deeply uncomfortable around those things, and I remember that was a time when I was getting so elitist about not hurting myself anymore. And so to then just hear about, the second I leave her house, she immediately just has a like, you need to go to the hospital level emergency with that. Because I used to think that, I'd like to date someone depressed because I want them to understand how I feel. I want to be able to understand how they feel. But she was just so down in there, and I didn't get any warning. There wasn't any like, hey, I'm going through something. It was just, I get a call, hey, she's bleeding out on the floor. I like, where the fuck did this come from? I'm sorry. It was not a fun thought. It wasn't a fun thing, and I realized then and there that I'm not enough for this. And well, anyways, whole bunch to that. But I go through it, and I think about all these people who I've had fun sex time with, and it's like, I feel intensely disgusted about each one of them. It was nothing against them, but it was a statement as to who I was as my own self, who I am, and really how, there's a guy over there. I don't know exactly where, but I assume he's still looking down here. I did not mean to fall off. I don't know how to call it. It was... I'll go with the word disdainment, but I have a word in mind. It was... whatever. It was a sign as to myself and who I was as a human being, and how much... It felt like a statement as to myself, who I had become and who I was, and how I could... For instance, I had relations with a woman who I had met online, and whenever I saw her in person, I realized I'm not attracted to this woman at all. Like, at all. And I saw the inside of her room, and it was... but I still went through with it, and I went home, and I showered, and I wanted to die. I well and truly wanted to die in that shower. It was a horrible experience, but I did it because it... I was led by my own body to do that. I was led by my own self to do that, and I intensely regret it more than anything. And the worst thing is wondering, I hope she didn't catch feelings for me. I hope none of them did. I hope at no point did any of them want that, because I didn't treat them well enough. I didn't do any of that. That was horrible. I feel like we want to keep spray. Do I have a healing grenade for you? Come on. That's not what I wanted to drop. I have no healing grenade. We're gonna run AK. I think we're doing better with AK today. I saw that guy there. Oh, you're new. Are you new? Okay. Talk to you later, man. See you around. I don't know how he feels or what's going through his mind, but... I don't know. We just feel so intensely disgusted with ourselves for everything that happened there. That, you know, it's not that I acted out of line. It's not that things were not agreed upon, but it's who I was as a person. I treated them well, but I treated them like I wanted a partner. That is to say, in the moment I did, because in the moment I just wanted to feel something. I just wanted to feel anything at all, and it wasn't something that ever came about. Oh, you're pushing me. Ow. I don't know if he was heal blocking or what. I think I saw a bit of heal block going on there. But that's alright. I feel we could have done better. If I had did I have a vampire? I think I might have had a common vampire at some point. I definitely saw a common recycling in my inventory, but a vampire would have prevented that death. Any sort of healing. Something to counteract his healing. It's just, you know, I think about that and I feel horrible with myself. I feel genuinely disgusted, and you know, I can't change it. It's not like I can go back on anything I've done or any relationships I had, but you know, I've learned recently that it's not worth it trying to force myself into a relationship with a person I don't actually feel feelings for. I tried that, and it does nothing but hurt both people. It was horrible. You know, I don't know. It has been a regrettable experience. It has been a regrettable experience in that regard. But you know, that isn't to say that I wouldn't mind another relationship. I would like one. But I don't want to do another online relationship. Even with someone who is just 30 minutes away. Fuck that woman, by the way. Horrible fucking person. But I don't want to do another one of those. It's not convenient. It's not really... I prefer to get to know someone first, but whenever your whole mind rushes you that says, sex now, it's hard to form real bonds with people, and it's hard to really get to know someone before you. It's hard to get to know someone before you really get into it with them, and that isn't meant to. My word choice there is not intentional, but it's just, it's hard to form real relationships with people, and it's difficult, and it's not been fun. It's not been fun, and so I have these. Anyway, I remember, some of my first relationships. I really do. They were horrible. They were fucking horrible. No matter how many good memories we have, we're only remembering the good parts of them. There were. I remember curling up on my bed, fetal position, just fucking crying. That shit was horrible. Okay. I missed. They were fucking horrible, but it's so hard to remember the bad parts. But why? Do you want to kill me? I'll fight you later. In fact, I'll fight you right now. We're the last people in the game. But yeah, I just, it's hard to remember some of those relationships. So I have all these memories like, oh, that was such a nice time with that person. And I forget that, they treated me fucking horribly. I have one in mind currently. I had multiple on and off relationships with her, but ow. Ooh, hell yeah. Yeah, we threw. We threw. Also, holy hell, that epic ice did a lot. They fucked me with that. Good for them. Yeah, I thought this wasn't the same guy. I don't know who that guy is. But it's hard to remember some of those bad experiences whenever it was all bad. Your mind, it doesn't want to recall. Your mind, it wants to recall the times when things were nice, when things were sweet, when things were working well. But it doesn't want to recall with her the horrible fucking sadness I felt every day, just crying. The just emotional abuse of it's always your fault, and it, with the next one, trying to remember all the times I just didn't feel much of anything, all the money I spent, all the things I did, just to realize that I should have never been with this person. I should have never tried. Online relationships where you get your hopes up just to realize that, oh, wait, they weren't actually serious. They didn't actually want anything. I recently had dated a woman for a whole week, 1 week. I consider it one of my more successful relationships in regards that I had learned something from previous ones in that it wasn't worth even trying with it. The first day we went out, I was so nice. She was a genuine angel, and every day after that, she was just a horrible human being. She She had a mask on and she took it right the fuck off. There was nothing of what I saw on that first day. It was just constant rudeness, constant fucking, it's when I talk about a relationship where it's always your fault. Typically, if people are to understand what I mean when I say that, there's this like layer of like it could feasibly have been your fault. In your mind, it could have been your fault. In your mind, things are, maybe they really were having the best intentions. With her, it was just so out there. So, what the fuck did the player count just do? I'll play out a 7-player lobby. I don't give a shit. It was so insanely just like. She made no attempt to hide the fact that she. Let me put it this way. On our first date, she told me it was the most worrying thing she had said to me. I have a god complex. And it's like, well, okay. And she was talking about how she believed in this, in Norse religion, all this paganism. And it's like, okay, well, that's cool. That's fine. I personally, I believe that, and this is out of ignorance, please tell me if I'm incorrect in this regard. But most pagans I've met have been not so much pagan because they actually believe it, just pagan because they hate Christianity. And that's fine, but hey man, you can just go to church and not listen to what they're saying. You can read the Bible and then say, wait, that part looks like bullshit. You can do that. You can make up your own mind. You don't have to have someone tell you that, you know what, I believe in fucking Thor. Poseidon? Yo, Poseidon my homie? That's, by the way, I know Poseidon is not Norse, and I know, shut the fuck up. I don't know much about it. But she was telling me this, it's like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. I won't voice my opinions on it, because if this is your actual religion, it is not my place to say if I believe you're right or wrong. This is what you believe. And then a few days later, she had told me, I think it's pathetic that you believe in one God. What? Where did that come from? Hey man, I just work here. I just believe in Jesus Christ. Why do you give a shit about this? And this is a quote. She is telling me that she believes it's pathetic to believe in one God. Like, I'm sorry? But she just laid it on so thick that there was no doubt in my mind, In my first really abusive relationship, it was, everything is my fault. Everything is horrible. And you know what? I agree. Something I did is just genuinely horrible and disgusting, and it's all my fault. With her, it's like, nah, there's no way. There is not a way on this earth that this is my fault. This is just her doing... Okay. Bang! Okay, I missed. Let me try this. So he's on the second floor. If you're wondering, yes, the bombardment does pierce through the ground, but I guess it doesn't go that far through it, as in the explosion doesn't. We could do funny. We could do funny. We could do very funny. Oh, shit. Oh, holy fuck. Oh my god, Batman. I don't know. But there was no doubt in my mind that this woman is shoveling me bullshit. And, I can lie to myself a bit, quite a bit. I feel like I've known myself for lying to myself, but there it's like, nah, there's not a way on this earth that is my fault. This is all you, buddy. And so it was very easy to break that one off. It's not that I had gotten my hopes up. I definitely did, but it's the way I used to say this about, I used to be very paranoid about getting cheated on, and to an extent I still am. But then I realized that, the reason I'm worried about getting cheated on, partially is because I don't want to be alone, partially it's because I want to keep the person who I have grown to love, but if the person I've grown to love is capable of cheating, they aren't who I knew they were. I didn't know who they actually were. They weren't the person I thought. And so if they could cheat on me, I hope they tell me, I'll say that, but you know, I didn't want them anyway. Okay. You know, they weren't the person who I thought they were, and so I shouldn't be so worried about it. It's definitely a lost opportunity, but they themselves were not the opportunity. It's what my mind had thought they were. And that's a lot more comforting to think of. But, you know, she was just a really bad person. Because I didn't give myself too much time to get, you know, I tear down walls very quickly. I'm very, I tend to find that, and it's not so much intentional. For once, I'd like to have a relationship that starts off slow and continues slow, but I'm a man who desires affection, and part of how I have been shown affection in the past has been sex, and it's like there's nothing to it. It's so devoid of emotion most times, but it's just how, you know, whenever I was had that first real relationship, it was, you know, I could not get any affection out of her at all unless that is what we were doing. And so that is what I have learned. I have learned that, and I could try working on it. I could try doing a lot of things, but it is what is ingrained currently that, you know, if I'm not getting enough emotion from someone, then well, time to have sex. Time to ruin it all. It's just, I want a relationship without it, but that's a long way off. I think we're a long, long way off from feeling content in a relationship. I think we're a long way off from feeling happy in a relationship. All these hoes have no feeling. It's just, you know, I don't know. I want something more real, and it's just so hard to find. It's so hard to find. You know, back then, I used to, as I said, feel so self-conscious. Things were always my fault. I was an ugly sack of shit. You know, fat, disgusting. And these are the words that had revolved around my head for years and years and years at that point. And so it's hard to, like, be like, you know what? This person's treating me like shit, but why is it winning with 2 people alive? Oh, because they died to zone. Right? Right? That is what happened? I assume that's what happened. I assume you'll let me in for another game? You will. There was an 18-player lobby, they say fuck you. God. I drank tea. I've been drinking tea. But yeah, no, I just don't know what to really feel with everything. Things have been complicated. Things have been stressful. You know, I know back then they used to be horrible. I remember... I remember when I was in high school, I remember a distinct experience where I was, you know, walking down the hallways and I felt lightheaded. I felt lightheaded. I felt sick. I was stumbling, and I realized that, you know, I don't recognize anything around me. I don't recognize any of these walls. I don't know where I am. Like, I know where I am, but, like, I don't know any of this. This isn't... It was a bad experience. It was a bad experience. And I'm happy that as a kid it was so drilled into me that, you know, drugs bad, alcohol bad, but to an extent that means that even now, I'm 21 years old, I've never drunk alcohol, I've never smoked a cigarette, I've never vaped, I've never smoked weed, and most of that's because I feel so deeply, deeply, deeply uncomfortable around it. Not like, you know, I understand some of these things aren't that bad for you. Like, I have my ideas. I don't assume that you're, you know, for the sake of weed, I have to assume your lungs do not like smoke inside of them of any type. But I can't imagine it's that bad for you. I'm sure it has some lasting effects that need to be more researched. Anyway, it's not. It's just I haven't tried it because the thought of it makes me feel sick to my stomach. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to feel like it's something that could ever be forced on me. And it's just not. I don't know. There's a lot to that. There's so much to that, but I don't know. Things have been complicated. As I was saying, back then things used to be horrible. I remember really wanting to die. I remember watching blood trickle down my arm, and it was fucking horrifying, but at the time it was comforting. It was a sign that I could feel again, that I could truly feel like a human being for once. Because it's not that I like pain. I touch boiling water and I'm I'm in shambles. No, not actually, but I don't enjoy it. It's just that it's a feeling that it feels like I have control again. It feels like I'm a human being, like I can think rationally. Thoughts are no longer continually polluted with hey, have you thought about dying yet? Have you thought about hurting yourself? Hey, have you thought about how everyone around you fucking hates you and how you're a disgusting human being and how you should fucking rot? You can start thinking again, like, hey, I I have thoughts that move in a straight line, but you can't show this. This is something that you can't make public. I like, you can to an extent. It's not that taboo anymore, but you have to wear long sleeves. And if you don't, you have to hear from anyone. You have to hear from everyone. What happened to you? Are you all right? Is everything okay? Hey, man, I already went through these emotions. Stop asking me them. Stop reminding me about this. I don't want to think about it. That's the last thing I want to think about. I to an extent, back then I would look in a mirror and I'd see these giant scars that cover my entire arm, that would be on my face, that would be on every part of me, that was virtually exposed. And I would feel pride, and I would feel comfort, and I would feel a sort of dignified anger towards myself. And nowadays, there's some pride left in there. I feel like a human being again, but it's a scary thing. I finally realized recently that, holy shit, my mother has seen this. She's seen these on my arm. And that's more than just seeing, scars on someone's arm. That is your own child. That is your own son. This is your own ilk, and they are going through something so horrible that they feel the need to... These people have got to stop doing that. They have got to stop doing that. That is not working out well for them. I don't get it. But I really hadn't thought about it, and to an extent, it's very selfish of me. I should have known, but it doesn't mean I'll stop. It doesn't mean I'll stop, and it's nothing. I understand the sickness of saying that, how horrible that sounds, but this is how I respond to, if I get, somewhat stressed. If I get angry, I get stressed. If I get sad, I get stressed. If I get a tiny bit stressed, I can just, play games. If I get quite a bit stressed, I can clean dishes, I can go on a walk, I can sing, I can do whatever. If I get extremely stressed, that stress converts itself back into anger. And that anger only goes towards myself. And whenever things are that overwhelming, it feels like I need to alleviate them this instant. And there is no quicker way for me to dispel this stress, this anger, than through self-harm. And it's very unhealthy, but it's what I know. It is what I have learned. It is what I have come to find as myself. I used to not believe I used to look in the mirror and not know if I was looking at myself. And the scars, they remind me that, hey, this is you. You really do exist. You really are a human being. You can feel. Things are not all right, but you're still standing somehow. And that is what, back then, that meant a lot to me. Because I didn't find much comfort in, I definitely talked a lot of, I talked to a lot of people. I found therapy in those around me, but whenever you're truly in the thick of it, I've always told people who are struggling through things, hey man, you can always talk to me. And to an extent, that's bullshit. When you're going through that, you don't talk to people. You want to get it over with. You want to get back to feeling some way. Like, I could talk to someone, but what's that gonna do? Maybe I'll feel fine, but I'll look in the mirror the next day and remember that there should be something here. There should be something here. And it's a sickening thought, it's a sickening feeling, but I feel no reason to delay what I feel I need to feel again. I don't know. It used to be very bad. I won't get into the thick of it. I've never used a knife, but I would still find a way. If I found a way that was more painful, didn't leave as noticeable of scars, but they left deeper, longer lasting scars and left more blood. And it's a scary fucking thought. It's a terrifying thought. But it is what I had found, and it is what I had done, and it is what had developed. It is what had become. It's just, there were some bad times. Bad time? Wow! Shocker! Things got bad. I remember there was what the fuck is that crate? That's really funny. That's really funny. I don't think I'm gonna assassin the sawed off, but I could do that. I could definitely do that. But I remember the first time I was on the verge of crying in class, and I decided for once that I need to go to the counselor's office. I have to. And so I did, and I broke down, and I told them everything. I told them every feeling in my mind, and I felt happy having it out there, but the most insulting thing they could possibly do is assume that I was a risk to myself or others. I wasn't. There's always a small risk to myself, but trust me, I'm not suicidal. I'm not going to do things that are going to kill myself. I don't want that. That has never been what I've wanted. There have been idealizations I've had in the past, but once I saw that video, no, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. And so the most insulting thing they could have done was what they did. Hey, I need you to wait here a little bit. It's policy. We have to get a police officer here. And they had them stand right next to me, and it's like, yes. Counselor, I actually felt amazing, and everything I said to you was, actually a lie, and, I feel perfect. Nothing incriminating going on here. Why would you bring a police officer? I understand policy, and I understand that people can be mentally unstable, but I was not in that state. It was deeply insulting to me. And my teacher, they would ask, every day, like, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? And I'd give them some bullshit answer, like, I'm doing fine. I'm doing regular. I'm doing the same as always. It's like the most depressing things you could say to someone. Still trying to feign it, but like not actually trying to feign it at all. Um, are you gonna pick up your friend? You can pick him up, man. You can heal up. Oh, that guy is up. I. Okay. What? Do you need ammo? There's ammo, buddy. You ready? You ready to fight this out one on one? You know what? Hold up. Oh my god! Okay. I assume I'll have to restart my game. I've had it open for an hour. Wow. One experience. Let's see. I don't assume you'll be very happy with me. Yep, of course. I've had the game open for an hour. I think here in a bit I'll have to leave to go deal with pot roast. Pot. Oh my god. Yeah, we have time for like another game. It's just, such a negative experience with that. And I came to find out that after I was telling my teacher every day that I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling okay. I'm definitely feeling. I came to find out that, from my brother, whenever you go to a counselor's office and you tell them that, they don't like just keep that under wraps. They tell every single teacher of yours, and rightfully so. But I hadn't really thought of that. And so I didn't know that every time I was giving her that like sad, pity me fucking I feel horrible story that I didn't know that that she knew the whole time that, oh yeah, no, this guy is in a pretty bad state. Not horrible, really. It wasn't the worst state, but it wasn't great. Hey, do we believe in connecting to the server? Is that something we believe in today? I understand if not. You're gonna found match me. You've decided that I've had enough fun today, haven't you? You've decided. 4 games? Is that enough for now? Yeah, you've decided, TABG. I understand. Oh? Oh, of course, you'll cue me in only whenever I go into the fucking shooting range. You know what's funny? I've seen this. If I try queuing in now, it won't do it. It fucking will? What? It wants to do that yesterday. Really? Okay, fuck you. Fuck you. I don't fucking. But yeah, they tell every teacher, and it was I don't know. We moved away. We moved down to Ponca City, and I liked a lot of my teachers there, but things got bad. Things got very bad. I remember that things were so incredibly fucking stressful that I went from. I mean, in Ponca City, the curriculum was horrible, genuinely horrible, even by Oklahoma standards. It was not very far ahead at all. Um, but I had a physics teacher who was very. My history teacher was best teacher I've literally ever had. But my physics teacher was very passionate, very good teacher. Um, and I liked a lot of what I was learning. It was very new. And around the end of my time at Ponca City, I was so horrendously depressed, I could not pay attention at all. I would be sneaking off to the bathroom just to go fucking scratch a new scar into my arm. And I things got fucking horrible. And then I moved down to McAllen, Texas, and things got even worse. I just I don't know when exactly they got. I know exactly when they got better. We got into our first real relationship. That's what fixed it. We got into our first real relationship. We felt healthy again. It was not a good relationship, of course not. I've told you about that, but we felt like we could exist again. And when things ended off, we felt horrible. We felt disgusted. We felt definitely the saddest I think I've ever been, but we still managed to stand up after that. I still, I got myself a job. I got myself enrolled in university. Fuck UCO. I did that. I had finally not, crumbled after what was a history of crumbling. But putting it that way is to imply that there was some sort of strength I had, and that wasn't the case. I don't think we've ever been strong. We've never been really mentally. We've never had much mental fortitude. It's always been crumbling after crumbling after crumbling. And things have been horrible. And I feel that. I don't know. I've always told myself that things will get bad before they get. Or things will get worse before they get any better. And for a while, I thought it was finally on the getting better, but I don't know if they're going to continue getting worse, and I don't know if any of that makes sense anyway. I feel that, I went to therapy, and that didn't help me. They could not tell me anything that might continue. I mean, obviously, nowadays, I've thought about things much more, and I'm a far healthier individual, but at that time, the therapist didn't tell me anything that my overthinking mind wasn't already telling myself. I had gone through every fucking possibility in my head over every single thing I was feeling. I didn't need them to just tell me again about that. Like, yeah, I understand. You don't need to tell me, brother. we're gonna die. Do you not feel like pushing me? Why do you not make a priority out of killing me? I assume you do not have your headset on, is why. Okay. Okay. I understand. I get it. It's just I don't really understand, but that's fine, man. You got that. I'll tell you what, I'll try the fire rate barrel on the MP44. I think maybe the increased fire rate, even if it's wasteful, might help me aim it better. There's an AK right there. But I'd be boring if I ran AK every fucking game. I do run AK every game. I do this. Bang! Okay. What? Bang! What? Where the fuck are you? What? Two rare dashes. Okay. Okay. I don't remember what I was talking about. I don't know. I don't know. It's just we've been stressed lately. We've not felt the greatest. And you know, I will say, playing TABG, it's nice. It's definitely not helping me get away from the stress from the fact that I'm procrastinating doing my college work, but it's a nice day. It's a nice way to it's not really something I do to wind down, but it helps me focus on something that isn't, you know, a constant overbearing dread that everything is going to end horribly for me. It's a nice way to feel something else. You know, back then I used to be worried that I could never feel happiness. But you can. It's just not. They're not the bright, lovey-dovey feelings I used to have. Things will never be as happy as whenever I was a dumb little kid picking his boogers, and I used to be so happy back then. I remember what I was saying. I don't know if I don't think the depression will ever go away. I think you only get better at handling it, and you only get the... If you're wondering, yes, that scared the ever-loving shit out of me. I knew he was nearby, just not, like... Okay. But yes, that did scare the ever-loving... Am I stuck? Am I stuck at the worst fucking time, too? Are you kidding? Hiya, buddy. I gotta talk to you later, I'm sorry. Oh, it's Zoom Fidgewick, Mr. Auto Clicker M14. I didn't know he's on. If I knew that I wasn't going to be able to have fun, I wouldn't have had fun this game. God. But yeah, I don't think it's something you ever really get over. I don't think it's ever something that really goes away. I think you just get better at handling it, better at handling emotions, better at... You know, I used to think that I would never want to be cured. I would never want to not have depression because this is the way I feel, this is the way I am, this is the man I am. And to an extent, yeah, this is my personality. This is... My depression is as much me as everything else. It is the way I am. It is the reason why I am the way I am. And it's not something, you know, even if I was to feel happier, even if I was to feel X, Y, or Z, I see now how he dupes ammo. That's really lame. It isn't... It's something I come to accept, and it's something I've come to be comfortable with. This is, as I said, this is who I am. These feelings, these thoughts, these emotions, these... You know, if every time I look in the mirror and I see something other than what I am, it's... That is me. That very much so is me, and it's something I've come to accept, and it's something I've grown to become comfortable with. You know, of course, there are some things I can change about myself, but I would never want to not feel... I've grown comfortable with this. I've grown comfortable with this. That's the short of it. Where are you? Where the fuck did you go? Were you anywhere? Can my grapples ever connect until, like, after a fuck... Why are they taking... I have 85 ping. Why are they taking a whole second to believe that they exist? Fuck that. Fuck that. I'm not... Fuck that. I'll just take a sawed off, because that one actually does something. That's what I was referring to, by the way. I think I was telling someone about that. My grapple just decides to sometimes take a whole second to work, and I don't know why. I do not get it. I saw my grapple fall, and it connects me to the falling grapple. I didn't even know it could fall. I didn't know this was a thing. I have lit beats on. What? I am sorry. I'll add that guy on Steam after this recording. We're ready to panic launch. I did not know I had a common jump. We likely don't need that lit beats. Oh yeah, I have slow bullets! I forgot about the slow bullets! What a shame. For reference, I do not believe Zawum Fidgewick is an insanely good player, but I've lost a lot of respect for him after hearing that he auto-clicks the M14, and also he has, like, really bad fucking ping. If you're wondering, Why that fight looked so weird, it's because of the bad ping. And um that isn't to say, if I feel that if he still had better ping and things were a little more understandable, he would be a probably a very good player. Um, but I have a very hard time respecting anyone who exploits an auto clicker for an M14. Um, I really do not respect it at all. But yeah, no, I guess that's about all I wanted to say. It's about all I felt like I needed to say. It's just things have been weighing on my mind lately, and things have been very stressful, and it's a part of who I am to stress, to worry, to feel the way I feel, to just be so insanely fucking self-deprecating and so insanely low morale. But it's been more of a problem lately. It's been more of a problem, and I don't know. I don't know. Today, just not being able to go on that drive really makes me realize that I set up everything, and then I realize that what it all just falls through. Every time, everything falls through. Every single time, everything falls through. Um, it's just I don't know. We've been feeling pretty bad. We've been feeling a little unhappy. Uh, I've been happy with going on my walks, as I said. I know I'm a very scary person, I'm sure, to walk past, given that I'm singing, stumbling, and walking at the dead of night in all black, and then holding on a knife because I'm not sure if there's going to be someone who's going to try to kidnap me. Um, Probably definitely a worrying person to walk past on the street. Uh, at least whenever I'm, you know, going through that sort of thing. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I feel like I've been losing weight recently. I mean, I have been. I say this because I can feel my stomach has clearly not eaten much enough. But I've been happy with the fact that things are progressing. Things are just very fucking stressful, and it's very easy to let your mind go and say all these horrible fucking things. Um, and clearly nowadays I look in the mirror and I can look in there and say, you know what, I do look pretty all right. Um, but the thought of saying that, the thought of feeling that way, reminds me that what if you actually look fucking horrible? What if you actually look like a fucking disgusting human being? And those thoughts, they don't go away. They'll never go away. But we can always grow more comfortable with having them, with their presence. It's just so. It's been overpowering recently. It's been very overpowering. And I, I assume it'll go right back down. Maybe things will be all right soon, but I think it'll be a few months before we feel all right. And likely a few years before we've truly handled all this. I talk about breakups that happened years and years and years ago. And those thoughts, those emotions, they don't really exist anymore. They don't hold sway anymore. Uh, I have that distinct memory of curling up and crying. I have a distinct memory of feeling sick and on my stomach, and then having my girlfriend at the time put duct tape on my back and continually rip it off because I'm not high energy enough. And those thoughts they're sad, they're horrible, but those really aren't bad anymore. But when those thoughts happened, they formed cracks in the surface of my mind, and they've worked their way down. And so that surface has been repaired, but the cracks are still there. I had an asshole for a father. He wasn't a horrible father by any means, and he definitely cared about us, but he was an asshole. And so You know, whenever I move chairs, I pick them up and I move them. Whenever I close cabinets or close doors, I close them very quietly. Whenever I hear a baby crying or um I or someone screaming or anything, I like yelling at me, I panic. I panic fucking hard. Um and although I can't remember all the exact details of why that is, I those are still there. And so, you know, we can work on the self-doubt. We can work on the general sadness. Um and we have. But they're there. Um they are definitely there. And they will likely stay for a while. You know, these tendencies, these thoughts, they're better now, but they're definitely not done. They're definitely not done. Even if, you know, some of the most formulative thoughts in my mind come from years and years ago, from experiences that don't matter anymore. They are still there. Those the effects of them, they're still there. I wouldn't be paranoid about anyone cheating on me if it weren't for the fact that someone cheated on me. And I had such a mindset at the time that I wasn't sure what to feel. I wasn't sure if I should stay or leave or go. I mean, clearly I should have left, but I my mind just wasn't doing what it should have. It wasn't thinking right. And I don't know. I don't know. He touched the mouse. Holy shit! It's I don't know. I've been thinking about writing music, but I don't know. I've been listening to break-ins recently, and there's a lot you can do with lyrics, and you know, shocker, anxious man self doubts question mark. Holy shit! News front page. Uh, but I if I ever wanted to release music, I'd want it to be good. I'd want it to be something genuinely good. Uh, because you know, a lot of the music that I listen to music that has a lot of uh you know, tone shifting, not really tone shifting, note shifting in the voice, you know, going from sounds like this to managing to like holy shit, all that sort of thing. I enjoy that. I enjoy that a lot, but you know, the lyrics do mean a shit ton to me as well. And I want a lot of the lyrics that I would make are they're so sensitive. They're so you know, I'd be writing about a truth that I know, and a truth that I know is it's a sad one. It's sad. It's a sad set of songs. You know, it's nothing but self doubt, anxiety, feeling horrible, feeling disgusted with yourself, feeling pride just to know that every time you feel all right, it'll be followed by another horrible fucking feeling. You know, I there's a lot. There's a lot, and obviously I don't talk about this all much. I don't like to doomer post so often. I think it's really annoying to have to hear about all of this. So that's why I put it into a video format where you don't have to actually listen to any of it. You don't have to watch any of it, and I think that's nice. Um, it's just it's the type of thing that I'd like to get off my chest at some point, and it's something so insanely important to me that I, as I said, this is who I am, and this is why who I am who I am. I I don't know. I was gonna go to church recently. I haven't gone to church in a while, and really, I don't really care for going to church. I took communion at a Lutheran church, and so now I feel obligated to return there. But I disagree with everything they believe. I don't believe they believe that you know, a true Christian At the end of the day, if you are a true Christian, at the end of the day you'll be forgiven by God. But I think it's foolhardy to imply that you could be a true Christian. For instance, one of those Nazi officials. Uh, you're not a Christian. um, I have a lot of beliefs that would never be confirmed by a church, but I also go to church because it's definitely it's a look into what I believe. It's a good way to flesh it out and to get an idea of what I do and don't believe. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna go work on pot roast. It was nice seeing y'all. It was nice talking to y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed some of the gameplay. I'm sure my aim was half decent most times. It's a shame I threw so much, but I don't give a shit. It was good. Talk to y'all later. I just tried to. I thought that I was already stabbed out, so you saw me try to like move my cursor. That would be yeah. Bye bye.